Okay, perfect. I started the recording. So let's see. For heat map, you require one or more dimensions and one or two measures. For a tree map, one or more dimensions and one or two measures. One or more dimensions, one or two measures. Like looks the same, right? So let's see this. So what did they say basically? One or more dimensions and one or two measures. So first I'll select one or more dimensions, category and subcategory, and one or more dimensions. Okay. So now these two are enabled for a tree map and a heat map. Let me select this one. The heat map looks like this, whereas a tree map will look like this. Okay. Tree map, heat map. Sorry, tree map and heat map. This is heat. Okay. Now, one of the most common questions asked in the interviews is that what is the difference between a tree versus a heat map? Okay. Tree map, heat map. What is the difference between these two, and when do you use these basically? Okay. When do you use these? Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about the negative points or disadvantages of using these two. So if you observe in both of these, your measure, one of your measure is being shown as a color, the another measure is shown as the size of this div, of this block. In here also the size and color are being defined by both your measures. Now the major disadvantage in this is that if there are any negative values, for example, right now there are three negative values. Now you cannot show that in either tree or a heat. Okay, that's one of the most negative values. Okay, that's one of the most negative or disadvantages or cons between these two. Okay, now coming back to this, when do you use a heat map versus a tree map? Now if you observe, so let me do one small change here. Okay, I'll change it like this. Profit by size. Again, profit by color. Sum of sales by size. Okay, now I have something like this. Okay, now between these two, this one and the other heat map, the reason why you use both of these is that, so for example, let me remove profit for a moment. So everything is now by sales. The size and color is by sales. Okay, this one and this one. Now if we observe here, both of these are used to show distinctions. So between, in one, if you want to compare all of them, so then you use either a heat or a tree map. Tree map, heat maps. Okay, but between these two, if you observe, like for example in this one, between tables and bookcases, it's a little hard to say which one is bigger. If I go here, okay, tables and bookcases, now you can say clearly which one is bigger and which one is smaller. So that's one of the disadvantage. So difference. Okay, let's say difference. Okay, so if you have less number of distinctions, then it's better to use a tree map. If there are more, then it's better to use a heat map. That's one thing. And it's always better. So this one, if the difference between both of these elements is big, okay, so now the difference between this and this is big, right? So for these big changes, it's better to use a heat map. For smaller changes, it's better to use a tree map. One last distinction is that if you observe clearly, okay, now between this one and this one, there is a small line here. Between this and this, there is a small line or distinction. But if you observe here, like all of these four blocks, okay, these four blocks are my furniture. Now, if you observe these four blocks versus other, you have a bigger line. If you observe, like there's more spacing between these two compared to these two. Now the reason is that, so this block basically comprising these four units belong to technology. These four belong to furniture. Okay. Now basically you can subdivide in this one. So for example, if you observe here, now can you clearly say if technology is more or furniture is more? You cannot. Okay. Is office supplies more or technology more? You cannot say that. But if I go here, okay, I would say technology is more compared to furniture. How can I say that? Basically, the area comprised by technology is more than that by furniture. So these small changes, you can say it, right? So this one is one of the major distinctions between a tree versus a heat map. So subcategorize your blocks, okay, or distinctions is better to do in, it's better to do in a tree map rather than a heat map. Okay, is everyone clear? Any questions between tree and a heat map? Awesome. So the next one we'll see is a histogram. Okay, we have already seen a box and whisker plot earlier. What is box, what is the median, what is upper quartile, what is lower quartile, what is a whisker, lower whisker, maximum, minimum, all these things we have already seen. Next point is histogram. Okay, in histogram you basically require one measure. So I'll select one measure and this is enabled right now. So I'll select histogram. Okay, now you might not be able to understand this clearly, but I'll make a small change before I proceed further. Okay. Okay, so now basically with sales, what I want to see is its distribution. Just like how I wanted to see it in the box and whisker plot, okay, I wanted to see a similar one. So for example, in box and whisker, I wanted to see the distribution, right? I did not care about total sum of sales. I cared about how are they distributed. So in a similar case, in histogram also, my concern is how they are being distributed. So for example, I want to see count of sales between $0 and $2,000, between 2,000 and 4,000, between 4,000 and 6,000, and so on. Okay. So to see these distinctions, I have generated this histogram. Okay. Is everyone clear? Why did I use a histogram? Basically, to see the distribution of these, I used a histogram. Now, how am I defining the spacing? Is basically because of this sales bin. Now, in Tableau 9, this bin is being generated automatically. Okay. Earlier to this, you had to create a bin, right click, create bins. This way you have to create a bin and then only you would have been able to create a histogram. Now, if you observe here, for example, here I have different options of bins. What is the new field name? Sales of bin. That's the name I'm giving. What is the size of each bin? So basically, what is the different so spacing between each values? So $2,000. What are the range of values? Minimum is this, maximum is this, count distinct is this, difference is this. All of this I obtained. These are already shown once you select any measure. For example, say select profit, create bins. Name, it suggests the bin size automatically by observing min and max. Okay. Then we have a min and a max, count distinct and difference. Okay, awesome. So in Tableau 9 onwards, once I create a histogram, right? Once I create a histogram, so now there is no profit bin here. If you observe, there is no profit bin. Click on profit, and if I click on this histogram, profit bin is automatically generated. This is only, you're only able to do this in Tableau 9. In Tableau 8, you have to create a bin, and then only you would have been able to create a histogram. Okay, is everyone clear on this topic? Anyone, any questions between histogram? Okay, now the next one is a Gantt view. Basically, I'll go through Gantt view when I'm explaining advanced visualizations. Okay, I'll leave the Gantt view for now and proceed with dashboards and stories for today. Okay, just for today. After this stories and dashboards, we'll talk about calculations, and once calculations are done, then we'll talk about visualizations advanced, and in this part I'll explain you the Gantt view. Okay, perfect. Now the next one is dashboards. Okay, till now we were basically generating reports, right? So remember in the in the third class, I told you that these are worksheets. Each individual report, you'll make it in a sheet. Now collection of these worksheets, you make a dashboard. This is a dashboard design. So here you can select many elements. Each of these worksheets you can select here. Okay. I'm able to generate this dashboard where you can measure many distinctions here. Or these are different reports, right? This is one report, this is one report, this is another report, and so on. So these things I was able to do, right? These things I was able to do on a dashboard. So dashboard is basically a collection of your worksheets and few other elements. Now collection of dashboards and worksheets is called a story. Simply drag and drop it. Okay, new blank point. So why is this useful? Size automatic. Okay. Story is basically useful for presentations. Okay. Whereas dashboards is where most of the work will be done. Okay. Now story, I'll make one small point and then we'll continue with dashboards. Story was launched with Tableau 8. Okay. Before Tableau 8, story option was not available. You only used to have worksheets, all of these individual sheets and dashboards. Okay. You'll see the importance of story in the further classes. Okay. But for now, let's discuss dashboard. Okay. Awesome. So first thing, what is a dashboard and how to create dashboard in Tableau? We just have gone through this point. What is a dashboard? Basically, dashboard is a collection of your worksheets. So to create a dashboard, you click on the second icon, new dashboard. If you observe, this one is new worksheet, like an individual element. Whereas for a new dashboard, it's basically divided into 4 parts in the image. That means it's collection of some things. Now story is shown like a book, collection of many things. Okay. So to create a dashboard, you can simply click on this second icon shown here and your dashboard is being created. Okay. So in this place, you can collect your worksheets and place them on a dashboard. Now, what is the use of this? Basically, the use is that you can see more elements. And why do you need to see more elements? These might be correlated, you know. For example, for example, let me make one small thing. So if I want to see different distinctions, okay, of, for example, let's say I need to see all the information related to office supplies. So basically, filter this sheet based on office supplies. So I click here. If you see, this is just showing office supplies information, right? Only technology information, only office supplies information. This one, only technology and subcategories, accessories. Okay, so what I am saying is this sheet is acting as a filter for other sheets. So if you want to find information related to furniture, okay, just furniture, you can simply click on here and these sheets are acting based on the selection you made in this sheet or sheet 2. So whatever selections you're making in sheet 2, you can see those correlations happening in these two because this data is related with this data, right? So that is the reason we require, or the importance of a dashboard is put in place. Okay, is everyone clear on why is a dashboard necessary? Everyone, any questions? Why or what is the use of a dashboard? This is very important. All the work that you'll do, like 95% of the work you'll do, you'll be presenting in dashboards. In fact, like 98% of your work will be shown in dashboards. It's very important, guys. Okay, no questions, right? Perfect. Now let's see on how to add worksheets or how to add elements onto this dashboard. So this is a blank dashboard I have. So to simply add your worksheets, here all your worksheets will be listed. Okay, so right now I have 5 worksheets here and those 5 will be displayed here, the list basically. And if I hover on those, I can see basically a preview of how that graph or chart or visualization looks like. Okay, to simply select and place it on this dashboard. So say you want your sheet 3 to be displayed on this dashboard. What you can do, I have developed sheet 3 back here, and to put this on dashboard 2, I can select this, drag and drop it onto sheet 2. Okay, now I have different sizing here. To adjust sizing, I can do it from here. Say I want it by automatic. Okay, this is simple, right? Say I also want sheet 4 in this. Now sheet 4 is easy. Sheet 1, what I'll do, I'll select this. So if you observe, like wherever I go, there's a little gray area that's being shown. So if I leave my cursor here, then this amount of space will be used by the sheet 1. Okay, so now nothing is there. So now if you observe the sheet 1, when I select and drag it, there is a little gray area being shown, right? So if I leave my cursor here, this part of gray area will be used by sheet 1. Okay, you see, this part was utilized by sheet 1 and everything else basically adjusted according to your sheet 1, right? So for example, if I select sheet 1 and go here, okay, now right side will be used by sheet 1. Okay, awesome. To remove a sheet, you can simply click on the X mark here and the sheet will be gone out of your dashboard. Now all the sheets that are being used on this dashboard will be shown with a blue tick next to it. So this one. So if you observe, sheet 1 and sheet 3 has blue ticks next to it. That means sheet 1 and 3 are utilized on this dashboard. Okay, awesome. Now the next point, okay, so we have seen how to add sheets. Now the next point is these different elements. Now sometimes you'll be asked this question, what are the different elements of a dashboard? Now your dashboard can be made with worksheets and few other elements. That's what I said, right? So those few other elements are these 6 types. A blank means a blank page. So see, I selected this blank, dragged and dropped it here. Just blank page. Just so that I can clearly adjust my other view, I'm putting this blank page. There's no other reason. Okay, that's my blank. Next is web page. Say, okay, it's asking for URL because it's web page. I'll give URL. Click OK. Now the URL, it's showing me that web page here, just like a browser. I can search here, say, all this information is shown. Why do you use it? Or some of the use case can be, so for example, next to this, you can provide Wikipedia page, or they can simply select this information here and you can make it such that the Google web page will search whatever selection he made. Okay, let me show you a small example for that. Oh, sorry, one small thing, one moment. First, I'll try to procure the URL. See, I search for technology. Now, this is the URL if I search for technology, right? So if I need to select, or if I select something else, I have to replace technology. For that, what I'll do, select dashboard, actions, URL. So instead of technology, what I'll do, I'll replace it with a subcategory that he selected. Click OK. Click OK. See, it's basically a search for binders here. Now, if you want to search for phones, basically search for phones. All of this you're able to achieve it, right? So that's the use of your web page. So for example, some use case can be something like, so right now, imagine you have your company web page. So whenever the user selects phones, okay, whenever user selects phones, you want that user to see that information on their web page or more information pertaining to that. So you can please select it and you can show that information here. Okay, you have multiple options in that. Say simply select. Okay, see what happens. I can simply select tables are selected and Google page basically search for tables. Select art, search for art. Okay, this thing is automatic. So this is a cool feature, right? That's the use of web page. And the next one is image. Select image, drag and drop. Once you do that, it's basically going to ask you to give an image, what it should show. Oops. Seems like I do not have any images here. I'll save this image. So I'm saving this in downloads. Click OK, save. I'll navigate here. Okay, this image is present. Click open. Okay, you have multiple adjusting options for this. So fit image. Okay, if I want to center it, I can center it this way. What is the use of this? Some of the use case can be something like, say you want to show your company logo. Okay, so you can show it this way. On the top right corner, I want to show my company image. And this is my company image. Okay, something like that. That's the use of image. The next one is text. So say you need to write something like this dashboard explains about sales. Okay, to do that, I'll select this text option. I want to display it here. Drag and drop it over there. Now this tab is open. This dashboard explains about sales. Okay, click OK. It's shown here. If I want to keep this center, shown this center with bold. Okay, easy, right? So all of these options you can do. The blank, web page, image, text. Any questions in these four options? So before we proceed to these two, you have to understand these four. Any questions in these four elements? I'm assuming no. Okay. So we'll see the next two options here, vertical and horizontal. So if you observe here, in horizontal, you have like two different blocks, one next to the other, one on the left and one on the right. So they are arranged in horizontal order. If you observe vertical, it's arranged such that one is on the top of the other. So one is on the top and one is on the bottom. Okay. So let's see what these two are. So if you observe these two are basically called containers. Okay. This is called a vertical container. This is called a horizontal container. Okay. So for example, say I have these two elements. Okay. This is a blank page and this one is sheet 1. Now if I try to move this, only sheet 1 is moving, right? But I don't want to do that. One moment. Okay. So if I move anything, only this part is moving. So for example, let me do something like this. I'll place few more elements so that it will look good. Okay. So instead of this, let's say I'll go here, I'll edit the bin size. Let me create some other visualization here. That looks bad. So say I'll create a map, simple map, based on states by color. Now if I go to my dashboard 2, it automatically reflects whatever is present in this sheet. I'll place a blank to make it look good a little bit. Okay. Now in this one, I want these two elements to move together. So for example, whenever basically I can't select these two. So these two belong to a module, or say these three belong to one module. Okay, small modules. So I'm not able to select it, right? So what happens if I want to say give a border next to all these three? I'm unable to do that. So to do that, what we have is containers, okay, horizontal and vertical. Now let's talk about these two. So vertical means if you want to arrange these blocks. So right now these two are in vertical, right? One is on the top and one is on the bottom. So if you want that top bottom relationship to coexist, you have to use a vertical. Okay, I'll do one small change because that's blank, you cannot see it clearly. Okay, so this is my module one. It has a blank, it has a text, blank, text, and a map. I want to place these three together always. What I'll do, I'll select this vertical because these three are arranged in vertical order, right? 1, 2, and 3. So first I'll select vertical. I'll place it in a dummy place, okay, for now. Now this is my vertical container. You want to see what that is? I'll select this one. See, this one is vertical, what I selected. If I select this is sheet 1. This is sheet 2, right? Sheet 2. You can see it in the layout. So in this vertical, I want to place these three elements. Module 1, this one, and this one. So whenever you do that, so first element, select, drag and drop. So the first element, because see, container is blank. So the first element that you drag and drop, it will show as if it's occupying everything. So this is one easy way to distinct between a container, say, or blank. So this is blank, right? Here, it's only occupying half space. But here, it's occupying everything. So I'll select, drag and drop it here. Now map is consuming this whole place. This is my blank and this is my module 1 text. I'll select this, okay, and drag and drop it here. Now if you observe, it's only occupying the border of that appropriate module or container, okay, the second element. Or if I go here, it's basically taking 50% of everything. 50%, 50, 50, 50. But here it's only accessing a border, right? So that way you can distinguish a container with everything else. Drag and drop it. Okay. Now, if you want to know if this is inside a container or not, what you'll do, you can select here, select layout container. When you do that, it's basically see, it selected this map, also selected this, right? Select layout container, selected both of these two elements. Now finally I have to place this text inside. Select text, drag and drop it. If you want to see, these three are in one huge block, select layout container. See, these three are in one place. I'll adjust these elements. Okay. Awesome. I'll select this container, layout container. Now these three became a block. Now I can move it wherever I want. Okay. Awesome. Now here I'm back to square one, however I wanted earlier. But these three are together. Okay. Say I want to give a border to this. Select layout container to a border to all these three. Select format container, say border. See, there is a border. So the reason I did a border is that these three belong to a subgroup. So these subgroups and groups you can emphasize using containers. Okay. Now just now we talked about a vertical container, right? Select layout container. This is a vertical. Now similar is the situation for a horizontal container. So for example, this one and this one and this one, these three, this image, this blank and this text are next to each other. So if you want to make them one block, what you can do, select horizontal, drag and drop it. Okay. Now I'll select this text, drop it whole. See, it's occupying the whole space, right? Now when it's like this, that means I'm placing this inside the container. Okay. If it's like this, so basically it's saying container is moving. So just like how this is showing, it's occupying 50% of this blank space, right? Or 50% of this sheet, right? So if it's like this, one moment, okay. If it's like this, then container is moving. If it's like this, then you're placing it inside the container. So now, if you want to make sure if it's inside the container, select layout container. See, for example, this one, it's not in, see the different options here, even for this, different options. But for this, select layout container. Now I can select this layout container. Now I also want to place this blank inside this, right? Drag and drop it. If you want to make sure it's inside this container, select layout container. It's inside that layout container, right? If you want to select this, place it here. Now let me select layout container. Now all these three elements are inside one container. Okay. Now the way to visualize this is, so imagine this dashboard area, the whole area is like a big floor. Okay. So on this floor, you can place tiles. So this is a tile, this is a tile, this is a tile. So you can place these all small individual tiles and fill your floor. Okay. Tiles can be of different sizes, different sizes, and it can either be a rectangle or a square. Okay. Different sizes, rectangle or a square, different shapes. Now in this one, a layout container means a small block of tiles. So for example, in kitchen, you want to use a different flooring compared to your bedroom or your bathroom. Okay. So now all those tiles present in kitchen, you can make them one module. All those in your bathroom can be another one. That's another module. So these modules, you can arrange them, right? So you can either arrange them vertically or horizontally. Okay. Or you can stack them horizontal and vertical together. We'll show that in a moment. Okay. So are you clear till now? Is everyone clear till now? Any questions between the different elements, blank, web page, image, text, vertical and horizontal? Okay. Now say if you want to, like make this one and this layout container, okay, this layout container and this into a module, what you can do, say I'll select horizontal. I'll place it in a dummy region first, select the worksheet that I want, drag and drop it. Now this one is present in a layout container. This is its layout container. Now then I'll select this one, select layout container. Then I'll select this vertical container and place it in a horizontal one. Okay. Now if you observe, if I click on this and select layout container, see this one is in, so basically I place these three in vertical way, and then once these three are in vertical way, I place this and join these three elements in a horizontal manner. So now it's, if you observe the layout, okay, if you observe the layout, I have a horizontal, this is my horizontal, okay, and in this horizontal, I have this sheet and one vertical container. In this vertical container, I have this text with module 1, I have a blank page, and then I have sheet 3. Okay, is everyone clear? All the containers? Perfect. Now, in the earlier explanation that I gave, I told you that imagine it's present. Okay, imagine you have one big floor, and on that floor you are arranging different tiles, right? So this is my layout container. Now, to on top of this, I have one more layout container. Select layout container. Now this one is a horizontal on top of this vertical. Now if I click it again, now, oops, sorry. In this huge block, that vertical was present. Okay. Now again, I can select layout container. So this is my layout container architecture. Okay. In this horizontal, this is present, and this one, this is present. Okay. This I have this horizontal. I also have this horizontal. Inside this horizontal, I have a vertical. Okay. This is the architecture. Okay. Perfect. Now, till now, we were imagining this as if they were tiles. That means one will not be on top of the other. One will be next to other, and they'll be arranged neatly. But what if you want to, like arrange it in a floating manner, like one on left, one on right, and so on. Okay. Let's see an example. So I'll select this. So this one, I don't want to give it a constraint. So then what I'll do, I'll select this floating option. Okay. Now I can place this anywhere on top of something else. Doesn't matter to me. Okay. So this is called floating nature. Now this is not present in a tile. If you observe in this dashboard, you have one big tile, and next to that, in the same level, you have the sheet. Okay. So if you now, once I place this in a tile or as a tile, I made it floating by selecting it here, right? So to start it, you can do it here by selecting floating, select it. Now this is floating. See, I can place it anywhere. Okay. Now if tiled was selected, select the same thing. See, it's occupying, it's moving other pieces. Okay. That's the difference between tiled and floating. By default, tiled is selected. Okay. Now, while I was explaining the earlier information, I have also explained layout, different options in the layout. Okay. Here I can also, so for example, in this category, I have these different options, right? 1 minute. Okay. So same thing, if I select here, I have these different options, right? I can get similar options here. Go to sheet, duplicate sheet, fit, title, caption, legends, and so on. Go to sheet, duplicate sheet, fit, and so on. Same options, right? So to get these options, you don't need to, like locate your container also. So for example, I want to select a container, Say I want to select this container. I am right now here. Now instead of like trying to find out where that container is, all those things, I can simply select it here. Okay, simple, right? Here I can do all the options right from here, or right click, and the same options will be present here. Okay, format container. Say shading. I want to give a shading. Okay, something like that. You want to give any shading or any sort of formatting, you can do it from right there. Awesome. Then the next thing is, okay, the last thing we'll explore. I'll close this one. Is this option, the position size. POS means position and SIZE is size. Okay. Say I'll select floating for a moment. Now I have this one. Now this is obviously placed in a position, and this obviously has a size. Now that position can be explained from here. Position and size. So here, this point, the top left corner is your 0, 0. Remember, on an axis, you have a 0, 0, right? On a graph. So imagine your whole dashboard is similar to that. So here, this point, top left, is 0, 0. As you go down, your Y value increases. See, if I increase this value, see how it's progressing downward? Okay, as your Y increases, it's gonna go down. As your X increases, it's going to go right. See, for example, if I click on, if I increase this X value, it's going to go right. Okay. Similarly, size and height. So width, size, in size we have two options, W, H, width and height. Width means from left to right. So as you increase this width, this length, or from this point to this point, it's going to increase. See what happens? See, as I increase, the top left corner is going to remain same. It's now increasing towards right side because I'm increasing the width. If I decrease it, it's going to go left. Okay. Similarly, in case of height, if I increase height, it's going to go down. See? Now if I decrease, it will go up. Okay. Awesome. So for example, two last points that I'll say for today. So if it's like this, oops, sorry. Okay. It's like this. The sheet 4, place it anywhere. Here. See, it's on x equals to 1 and y equals to 7. If it's 0, 0, then that means it's on the top left corner, okay? This point. This is my 0, 0. Now, if I need to know, say, this point, okay? So, or something like this point. Remember I told you from here, if you increase your x value, this value is going to go forward, right? So if I drag it, observe my width for now. This is my width. So from here, what I can conclude is this point, okay? This point where this chart finishes, the x value is 542. Okay, so if I need to place another floating chart, right next to this one, my X value should be, okay, how much should my X value be? 542. So I'll select this one, 542. So now this one and this one are next to each other. Okay. So if I want to place this one, sorry, place sheet 5 next to sheet 4. Okay. Now the Y should be same, right? So this one Y I'll select as 0. See? Now this one is next to this one. So this way you can treat your floating tiles or floating modules as if you're treating a tiled part. Okay, this is floating, right? These two are floating right now. I can move them anywhere. I can move them anywhere. But I can also treat these as if they are tiled. So what if I want to place this right at the bottom of this one? Okay, so what should be my X? Maybe till here. What is this? Right attaching to this one. So what's my height here? 183. The height or Y value should start from is 183. Okay, right next to each other. If I want to equate my width, okay, from here till here. So the width for this is 542. So the width for this should also be 542. Now the size for these two are same or not. Actually, height is different. See, this height is 183, this height is 199. So height should be 183. Now these two have same size and one is on top of the second one. Okay, perfect. Any other questions, guys? Now the last thing is in size. Here you can select the whole size of your dashboard, either automatic or say desktop size, small blog, all these multiple options I have. Okay, okay, perfect. I'll close the session for today. Do you have any questions?
Shiva, how many